This is the Bottom Line Sports Show with Gerald Brown and Rick Mahorn.
Imagine you trade a Chet Holmgren for a Giannis Antetokounmpo.
These guys are athletic as you know what, and you go like, oh my gosh, where's the fundamentals? Where's the pass first mentality? That's not in the league anymore.
And now here's your host, Gerald Brown and Rick Mahorn.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Bottom Line Sports Show. Gerald Brown flying solo momentarily as Rick Mahorn is getting ready for the Pistons game one matchup and doing all the stuff behind the scenes, and i.e. he's just an old grumpy dude. So getting him 2 days or so this early is a little challenge, but nevertheless, I'm back here, and joining me will be Anthony Morrow momentarily. But I want to take this time before we get into the whole dynamic of the NBA play-in tournament. And I'm curious about the whole scenario with the Charlotte Hornets and see what type of drawback it's going to take place in regards to the issue that transpired with the whole thing where LaMelo Ball pushing and tripping Bam Adebayo. First of all, two things. Number one, LaMelo Ball must be very, very strong to basically be able to take Bam Adebayo off of his feet that easy. I was kind of surprised. I watched it multiple times to see somebody down on the ground. And again, somebody not attempting to run, but yet just standing still, all of a sudden just be thrown off like that. I was very, very surprised to see that transpire, and him being able to knock Bam off of his feet that easy just with one swipe was kind of surprising. So I don't know if there was a little acting involved. Bam was injured behind that, but it was unnecessary. And I think clearly in the heat of the moment, it's always, you can say that after the fact. But in my humble opinion, it was not necessary at all. Yes, it's a lot of frustration. Yes, this is a young team that is in the playoffs, trying to sort of earn, if you will, their stripes and earn the opportunity to be a part of the playoffs. It's been a great, great season for this young team. But LaMelo Ball, you're the cornerstone. You're the franchise player. And, this whole thing in terms of how it played out just really just didn't seem like it was necessary, right? Now there's a potential. Could the league look to suspend him a pivotal game that would thus put them into the playoffs and face off against the Detroit Pistons? Clearly, if not, he's going to get a fine. It's unnecessary. And yeah, you're young and dumb and all that stuff. You want to use those terms. You could, money is not an option and stuff. You're going to be fine. But I think the biggest thing is the focus should be on the loser, I should say, of the Hornets, the Orlando Magic and the Philadelphia 76ers game. That should be the primary concern in terms of, which direction they'll go. And honestly, that should be the focus, and not if LaMelo Ball will be suspended or not. I think clearly one way or other, something is going to definitely come down and potentially could be a major issue for them. But I think also, too, we got in discussion last night. Big shout out to Charles Oakley. In terms of the play-in tournament. And it's, look, that's great because it came from a perspective of two former players in Charles Oakley and Rick Mahorn, a.k.a. Derek Mahorn. He's not here, so I'm going to call him by his government name, Derek. But the thing is, it wasn't prevalent and it wasn't a factor when those guys played. This is something that's been brought into the league. Yes, it's additional stress on the body, but it kind of makes up for the fact is, fan interest has waned over the course of time. You're right. Let's be clear. It's hard and difficult to watch regular season games. It is. It's very challenging to see where the league has come from to where it's at now, it really poses a challenge. But I gotta say, when I look at the first round or the first set of games for the play-in tournament, look, you had a lot of excitement with the Charlotte Hornets, Miami Heat, a perennial play-in tournament team being in that space, and then take it even a step further, Phoenix Suns and the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, Denny Avdia, I think the biggest thing, and I'm going to be talking to former Wizard and former Oklahoma City Thunder player Etan Thomas about this. Like, the vision and basically when you're a GM to give up on certain players, it really baffles me in terms of just how the whole mindset of the thing is in terms of Denny Avdia. But I think it was great for the league. I think it was a unbelievable scenario with the NBA to have the play-in tournament that takes place, because now as fans, and again, like Oak and Rick was talking about yesterday, it's a lot of wear and tear on the body, but for the fans, now we're watching these games, right? We're not just saying, we're going to wait to the second round or the conference finals to watch these teams. People are dialed in, and it's very, very exciting. And I expect the same thing with the Orlando and Philadelphia series, as well as Golden State and the Clippers. You have perennial teams that have recognizable faces that people will tune in to be a part of. Still waiting on for Anthony Morrow. He's in hair and makeup, but our guest tonight is joining us. And without further ado, this gentleman, been a big fan of his from afar and seen all the great things that he has done and been a part of. And again, he epitomizes when you talk about an individual that's just more than a basketball player. I'm not going to have him wait any longer. Former NBA player. He's a poet, activist, engaged, aware of all that's happening on and off the basketball court. The one and only Mr. Etan Thomas. Etan, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, sir. How you doing? Thanks for having me. Come on.
Hey, man, this has been in a long time in the making, and I do apologize. Anthony Morrow is running a little bit late, so he's on his way, but nevertheless, really appreciate you being on time. I got to say this, man, working for the Knicks and being a part of the New York Knicks organization as a kid, as a ball boy, and being able to see the Big East tournament. I can recall your introduction to the college basketball scene with the Syracuse Orangemen. And we had a couple of weeks back, we had Derek Coleman on. And before we get into all the sort of nuts and bolts of the play-in tournament, I want to go back. What did it mean for you to be a part of the Big East, and more importantly, the Big East tournament, and playing in Madison Square Garden, starting out with the Syracuse Orangemen?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was like a dream come true. I was born in Harlem, and I spent my summers in New York. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but all my summers were spent in New York. And going to the Garden with my grandfather when I was young, and watching the Big East tournament, and he was always, so excited, and it was the energy. So then when I got the opportunity to play there, and he got the chance to come and see me playing in the Big East tournament in the Garden, in the Mecca, you know what I mean? It was just special. We had so many great battles there. I was just talking to Meta World Peace not too long ago about the overtime game that we had in the Big East tournament, and it was crazy. Ryan Blackwell hit the shot at the buzzer. I think I tied the record for most blocked shots in the Big East tournament. Meta World Peace was battling. We almost got into it during the game a couple of times. It was great Big East basketball. You know what I mean? And I still hate that Syracuse is not in the Big East anymore. And I'm going to always say it, because it doesn't even feel right. Even though it's been a while, it does not feel right for us to be in the ACC. It doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like, Big East and the history and that documentary, The Requiem for the Big East, it was absolutely amazing. I can't talk enough about the Big East, but it was an honor to be able to play in the Big East for 4 years.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. As a ball boy and young kid working those Big East tournaments as well as working for the Knicks, I remember I was always getting an excuse to leave school early or early on Fridays, because again, the tournament will start Thursday, then you have all the massive games on Friday. And at that time, I think, a lot of the teams would stay around and have the championship on Saturday or Sunday and be able to watch the selection show and stuff. And that was going back with Dana Barrows and, when Syracuse would come in, you have Derek Coleman, Stephen Thompson and all those guys, Sherman Douglas. And it was always a Syracuse and Georgetown battle. But I do echo those same sentiments in terms of, obviously, it's just weird to see them in the ACC. And, when you speak about Harlem, I'm a Harlem Knight too. So I got to ask you, you grew up in, you said you were born in Harlem. Specifically, where in Harlem were you born?
Spanish Harlem, El Barrio, right on 111th Street, right off FDR Drive.
Oh, okay. So you far east side and stuff like that. I was in West 111th and Lenox Avenue and stuff by way of Harlem Hospital. So know the area real well. I want to get in your thoughts and really, first of all, we just want to start on the fact is that Rick and I had Charles Oakley on last night, and Oak as well as Rick were talking about the fact is how much the extra wear and tear these playing tournaments actually put on these players' bodies, especially when these young players really don't want to play per se. I'm coming from a fan's perspective and saying it's great basketball because, again, now we're incorporating not only those fan bases for those respective teams, but fans in general that are watching playoff basketball and teams really compete. What are your thoughts as a former player about the play-in tournament?
I understand both perspectives, definitely. From a player's perspective, the wear and tear is definitely something that's real. But watching, Charlotte play last night, that was an amazing game. Like they were playing with the intensity, of a game 7 final series. Like it was really amazing. I still think I was wrong for a man to grab his leg like that. But LaMelo, he's a young cat. He makes mistakes, but he got to correct that. But it was a great game the entire time. So that level of competition and passion and everything like that for fans, normally, the first game you don't really pay attention to it. It re-engages the fans on a whole nother level. The game with Golden State is going to be great. Philly is going to be great. I mean, they're going to be intense games because they set it up where so much is at stake. So the games mean so much. I mean, from a fan perspective, you were looking at teams tanking the whole season. You were looking at teams hardly playing their main players, and you see fans get disengaged. Well, this is an opportunity. And I got to give Adam Silver his props on this one, creating this to really re-engage the fans. But I definitely understand the wear and tear on your body from a player's perspective as well.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. And you know what? It's really changed because, again, when you played and even earlier, there was a system and sort of, again, fans were conditioned. Okay, we know first round of a series, and understanding there was no play-in tournament, but you watched all the games or majority of them because you wanted to see the stars play and perform. We watched the all-star games and stuff, but it has changed and it's in a very vulnerable spot. And obviously as times change, you have to change with the times, so to speak. And I think it's a very great idea. It's genius. It has worked thus far a lot better, I would say, perhaps more than the sort of in-season tournament, if you will. But it has renewed the interest, and you're right, it didn't die. It didn't pretty much, fall on deaf eyes, if you will, or deaf ears in regards to these two events that took place yesterday. I got to ask you, as a former member of the Washington Wizards, and look, we understand, right? Let's call it what it is. Tanking, a lot of these teams, analytics is really prevalent in the NBA. But, Etan, I watched last night the Portland Trailblazers do battle against the Phoenix Suns, and that wasn't my first time watching them. I had watched before during the course of the season, and I'm watching Benny Avdia, former Washington Wizards draft pick, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Lo and behold, it seems apparent that the Trailblazers have found their centerpiece. It's like, hey, they went out and made the trade, getting rid of, Dame Lillard and stuff like that, and they brought him back, but really just trying to find out who was going to be that next guy. when you look at Avia and puts up those big numbers to, advance the Blazers into the playoffs, how do you, as a player, former player, how do you look and sit back and say, what do you say and think of when you say this guy could have been doing this for the Washington Wizards, who haven't had a centerpiece guy, if you will?
Well, I would say the Washington Wizards now have Trae Young, who I'm definitely excited to see in the Wizards uniform next year. They have Anthony Davis, who, as long as he's healthy, we know the numbers that he can definitely put up. And they're going to get a high draft pick mixed with the young players that they have had, on the roster for these past 2 seasons. So I think that the Wizards fans have something to look forward to for next year. I would like to see, I don't know how to say this, but, I think in order to make this push, we might have to consider a coaching change. Nothing against the current coach that is there. Maybe he can still be on the coaching staff. But me personally, I would like to see a coach like Sam Cassell come there. I'm always going to root for Mark Jackson to get back into the league. But a coach to really, start a whole new, because it's going to be a whole new beginning for the Wizards. And I think to have a whole new beginning, you kind of have to have a whole new head running the ship as well. But I think the Wizards fans have a lot to look forward to for next year. I understand what you're saying about what they lost. But I think Trae Young and company, high draft pick, I think good things are ahead.
You got to be patient. That's the whole thing, is kind of telling fans to be patient, let these guys develop. And then you have a guy that fans were patient with, and Avia, and now as he develops, he's shipped out, and now it's kind of like doing the same thing over and over. And now you're saying, hey, be patient.
But I don't think it's the same thing, though, because, Trae Young is a proven star. Like, he's not somebody that you're looking to develop. You know what he can do and what he can bring to the table from day one. And then you have Anthony Davis, who, when healthy, is top notch. You know what I mean? So just those two pieces by themselves, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it, definitely it is obviously a step in the right direction. You have some recognizable faces and stuff, but what we say is the best ability is availability. That really, really matters. Let's look at these NBA playoffs, because I really want to tap into the fact that obviously, you've really been obviously speaking out and really share a lot of thoughts and really speak for a lot of people that sometimes people just are voiceless, if you will. So I really want to tap into that, because I've been a big fan of your work that you have done and continue to do. When you look at these NBA playoffs and you look at the Eastern Conference, and, obviously Detroit has been on an unbelievable run from the beginning of the season to now, obviously having a couple of injuries here and there. Boston comes out of nowhere with Jason Tatum coming back, and this team is really, again, back in the thick of things. We know about the New York Knicks. Cleveland is there, whatever, but I think it's a 3-team race. When you look at that Eastern Conference, what is that team out there that really has a lot of your attention?
Well, the Knicks, definitely. I'm looking to see what they can do, and I'm expecting the Knicks to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, definitely, and the NBA Finals. I think that they have the ability to be able to do that. Now, I'm one of the people who have been kind of hoping that, not necessarily right now, but at the end of the season and in the off season, that they do make the move for Giannis. I think Giannis would be great in New York. I think his style of play, his energy, the way that he plays, New York fans will absolutely love him. Love that he gives 110% every single time, how hard he plays. I think it's perfect for New York. But I think this season, I think it was important for them to see how far they can go before making a big move. They had a lot of momentum last year. They played well. They were like right there, and they couldn't get over it, past the end of last year. This year, I see a lot of great things. Of course, injuries always plays a part at this time of the season. But like you said, it's a 3-team race between the Knicks, Detroit, and of course Cleveland. Cleveland has looked good, with the James Harden trade, and the way that they're, kind of vibing off each other and what they can do. Everybody knows what Cleveland is kind of capable of. We just have to see what happens come playoff time. Cleveland has been a team that has been really successful in the regular season, but then the playoff time has been a little bit different. So, you know what I mean? I like Detroit. Detroit is very, just from top to bottom. I like how they play. I like the way that, that's the team that I would probably be the most worried about if I was a Knicks fan. But you mentioned Boston, and they're going to be somebody to keep an eye on because, yes, Tatum has been out for a long time, but now that he's back and now that they're, might be clicking at the right time. So I think the playoffs are going to be really interesting overall to see, especially in the East.
Yeah, it definitely is. Etan, I said he's better late than never, but just like most of them shooters and stuff like that. Former NBA player Anthony Mars, you know how them shooters are, they got to go through hair, makeup, and everything like that. But it's always an honor for him to join us and stuff like that. So, Anthony, you know what? You're looking sharp and crispy. This Etan Thomas.
Hey, man, Etan, first of all, man, shout out to you, brother, for real.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
gonna get the OGG Brown, man. I told you I had a mini emergency. A bee got in the house and my kids was going crazy, so I had to handle that. Cool. My wife not gonna come down here and do it. But glad to be on, man. Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. So just to let you know, back in the days, we from Harlem. You know what I'm saying? From Harlem and stuff like that. We go get that the circular from the grocery store. You get a piece of paper and you smack it over there. If you can't find nothing, you clean it up and flush it down the toilet. And it's good money.
No, you know what I did? No, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Look, this is what I used. I used a slipper, bro. West Boulevard, Charlotte, North Carolina. Paper towel, flush it down the toilet. Everybody good now. Leave me alone. I love
everybody
it.
Good.
I was asking Etan to get his thoughts, and obviously, we'll get your thoughts, obviously, on this first round. We were talking about, obviously, this whole situation with the Charlotte Hornets, and I want to dive into that. But, when we were talking about, obviously, moving on to the Western Conference, you guys played for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and obviously you've been there. And Etan, you were there, obviously, when they had that sort of on the cusp of getting that run together and putting everything together. And obviously, Amo, you were there as well. When you look at this team at different times, but I'll ask you guys this. When you look at the Western Conference, and I'll start with you, Etan, is it OKC and everybody else? I feel it's matchups. San Antonio is not a team that you can just easily wipe to the side, but experience. When you look at that Western Conference, is it OKC and everybody else? I'll start with you, Etan.
I mean, OKC is pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? If I were a betting man, I'd put my money on them going back to back. To be honest with you, but Wemby is so impressive. I mean, and I'm like, goodness gracious, they keep talking about. Giannis may be going to San Antonio. I can't even imagine him and Wemby together. But, I mean, I really like the chemistry that they have currently. They've been really impressive. But OKC, it's just a way that they all, do their jobs. And they all, when it's time, there's not any kind of haggle of who's going to take the next shot, who needs to do. Everybody falls into their roles. They're bought into the system. They look good. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can really see anyone beating them. A lot of people say they're looking for Denver to come back with the two-man game. And okay, maybe. But like I said, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I put my money on OKC.
Hey, Amo, you played there, and obviously you know about the success that they have had, and knowing that they have finally gotten over the hump. And obviously when you win a championship, if you will, you kind of, I like to say, learn how to manage a season. When you look at that Western Conference, is it just OKC and everyone else?
No, I mean, I still got Denver in there. San Antonio could be scary for them on that, on that West Coast. But I think those are only two teams that really give them a threat. You got to win 4 games in the 7-game series to beat any of them teams. Those are only teams I see coming out the West that can give them real problems. But right now, I got OKC winning it all. I got OKC Boston in my finals. Boston's the most equipped, structured team to come out of the East. Health-wise, culture, style play, But in the West, yeah, Oklahoma City, like if you look at from start to finish this year in terms of load management, which I hate saying that because I don't like that, but in terms of making sure all your star players can get their bodies right and get healthy, and then you got 4 or 5 other guys coming off the bench that can start on most NBA teams. You talking about AJ, you talking about Kaysen, you talking about McCain. You got some guys that come off and give you points. The young Jay Will, of course J Dub's an all-star, but you got guys that can come off the bench that can start for other teams. And when you let these guys get their rhythm and get their feet wet during the season with your stars out, now everybody comes in with a fresh. I don't think no other team has that. Wemby's coming off the rib, even though he's playing still extremely well. MVP candidate, in my opinion. I still don't think that they may not be there yet to beat a team like Oklahoma City that's equipped for the playoffs. They're already world champions. They have that pedigree. So that's why I put Denver in there. They've been there before. Everybody's healthy right now. So I don't see them cakewalking through the West in terms of Oklahoma City. Excuse me. But I do see them having everything available for them right now to get to the finals. I don't see nobody stepping in front of that right now.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that when I look at the West, it's all about matchups. Like San Antonio is perhaps maybe the ideal matchup for the Oklahoma City Thunder because they kind of mirror each other, right? If you look at OKC San Antonio, well, you go back, OKC mirrored and kind of were built off of the sort of blueprint of the San Antonio Spurs. But the difference and the thing that's unique, and obviously, yeah, you can't discount experience, but the unique thing that I always find very interesting is that when you look at San Antonio, they seem like they not only have great perimeter defenders, but they also have guys that create their own shot. When I look at Oklahoma City, it's probably just one guy that you really say, you know what, he can go out and create, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, aka SGA. I think that's something that you can't really discount. And obviously, yeah, you can look at the regular season, you got to factor in so many different things. But I look at that Spurs team, and when you mentioned about, I think Etan, you mentioned about Wemby, and just obviously, look, he's here. If he don't win an MVP this year, providing God forbid he gets hurt, he doesn't get hurt, he's going to win one next year and whatever, because he is here now. It's no more waiting to see what he can become. But I just look at them, and then also, look, we can't count out Houston. I think the matchups will definitely dictate how the Western Conference is won. I mean, even the Lakers, I think to a certain extent, obviously injuries and stuff will have to be taken into consideration. But teams in the matchups, really, really is something that I look at when it comes to the Western Conference.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I don't think there's any matchup for Wemby.
Yeah.
You can say like he's an outlier. So I think he's the point that makes this situation so difficult for all opposing teams. But as a complete whole, yeah, I agree with Anthony on this one. I don't really see anybody beating OKC in the 7-game series.
Yeah. Now, guys, when you've had the opportunity, obviously playing in the playoffs and really being in this moment, maybe not in the play-in tournament, but talk about obviously from your experience. Is there a sense of going back to the good old days and stuff when you have this time around this time of the year? And I know Etan, we were talking about it earlier, the Big East tournament and the Big East and just having those fond memories. Does some stir up in you guys when you get around this time of the year and reflecting back on your guys' playoff journey? I'll start with you, Amo.
Nah, definitely, man. I got boys in the house. So like my oldest son is 13. I got twin boys, they're 9. So like March Madness time now, that's when it started revving up. And then going into the playoffs, and now we got to play in. You see what our Hornets doing out here in Charlotte, man, and it's exciting. It's exciting, man. Like it felt like Muggsy and Dale and LJ and Alonzo out here last night being around the city. So I always feel it, man. It's we retire. We can't do it forever physically, but it never leaves your spirit, man. Basketball is a part of our DNA. So it's always a great time, man. Like now being able to be in the media and talk about it and speak upon everything, playoffs, matchups, like everything we're doing right now. It's just more of a blessing, especially when you was blessed to have experience to play at that level, qualified to talk about it. So it's always exciting. I can't wait to watch these games tonight. My son, he had basketball practice. He ready to come home so we can tap in with his son's game later on, man. So like that. Order a big tray of barbecue. We lit.
That's great. That's great.
Etan, again, with this time of the year stuff, do you reflect back on the playoff journeys and obviously all the energy that's associated with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we had some great years. When Coach Jordan took over the Wizards, we went to the playoffs for 4 straight years. And it was something that didn't happen in DC since the time of Chris Webber and Juwan Howard. Wow. And so for the way the electricity in the audience and the crowd and the way that it's like a whole different level from the regular season. I remember when we beat the Bulls in the first round of the playoffs and the city was on fire. And that's when they had, Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler and all them. And it was a great atmosphere. You know what I mean? But the other years we could not get good past LeBron in Cleveland. There was always these great games, and then a young LeBron would do something spectacular at the end and win it. And there's all these different. I'm like, we could not get past this cat. But it was just the playoffs is such a special time. So every city that's in the playoffs, and that's the thing we were talking about before about the play-in tournament. That's creating an atmosphere that wouldn't be there because that team would not be able to, participate. So from a fan standpoint, that, like I said, that Charlotte game was great last night. It was a great game, just from start to finish. It's unfortunate what happened with Bam, but I mean, just the whole atmosphere. It was a great game, and it was a game where people are playing for it all. It's like you're putting all your chips in. You know what I mean? This is for everything. And that like I said, I got to give Adam Silver props on creating that atmosphere. That was really, really smart marketing play to implement.
Yeah. ET, bro, y'all were built for the finals. We were playing video games with y'all. I'm like, they can get to the finals every. Y'all were built for. I know that LeBron, hard to get past it, bro. Y'all was built for. But to go back to what you said about the play-in, I feel like I didn't really understand it when they started doing that. I didn't see the point. Nobody was really watching. But now, you see the ratings. But now I understand. For me, coming off that March Madness run, seeing Michigan, shout out to Michigan winning the title, and then going right into the play, you still kind of had that college feel.
Yeah.
Right before the actual playoffs. I think it's genius now, and I think more people are gonna look forward, and ratings gonna go up with the play-in. Piggybacking right off that NCAA March Madness, all of that. I think it's great for basketball in general, worldwide. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah. But I got to ask you guys, and I got to ask you specifically, Etan, because you're a big man. And obviously, look, I don't know, but I'm looking at it, and I watched the play over, and I opened up the show talking about this. It's unfortunate what transpired because it's going to take away, such a great game, and now the Hornets fans, along with the Hornets, they're probably going to find out, if not today, tomorrow, if potentially LaMelo Ball could be suspended. But my thing was, I was trying to figure this out. And, again, I don't know. It just seemed like either LaMelo had to swing very hard and aggressive to be able to knock a big man like Bam Adebayo off his feet unexpectedly. Now, granted, you're not expecting anybody to do anything like that, but you're weighted down. Was a little acting involved, Etan, or is that something that potentially could happen? Just a person swiping at your feet, obviously, when you're standing straight up.
I guess he was kind of backing up a little bit too. I don't know. You know what I mean? I've never really had it happen, so I can't really, have anything to compare it to. But he definitely clipped him on his feet. And that's something that, LaMelo, he's better than that. He's a better, player than that. That level of, that's something that people like Grayson Allen do and everything like that. LaMelo, you're a better player than that. You don't have to stoop to that. I mean, even when you have a game where you struggle, shooting percentage wise, you still are in a position to make the game-winning play. You're still, you are a quality player. I would really emphasize to you to stay above that. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's Amo, that's your city, and obviously it takes away from that. I mean, look, he's got to be the face of the franchise, right? He's the franchise player, right? And obviously it's a learning experience, right? Never going to go ahead and desecrate the brother's name or whatever. You can't do that though, Amo. It's like
The way it looked, I worked in the Hornets organization. Like I don't think he doesn't have that on his resume, on his jacket. That's not his reputation to do anything on some Bush League type situation like that. But it did look crazy. If he did get suspended, you can argue back and forth with whoever based on opinions. But I've never known him. We've never known him to be that kind of player. It's just unfortunate that now the light is on him in the NBA more than ever with how Charlotte's playing, with how the organization's rocking, and winning their first play-in game. So now people that may not have seen LaMelo Ball in the league is going to look at him and they're going to associate this with him, which I feel like is unfair for him because we haven't seen him do this continuously. And it's kind of hard to tell. He was looking around, it's hard to tell, but it was unfortunate because I wanted to see both teams at their best compete, but it is what it is. He got to face the consequences if he does. For sure, nobody in Charlotte is talking about it, but if you go on ESPN, everybody's like, you got to be suspended for Friday. You should have some kind of repercussion for this, but I don't know. I know personally, he's never been that kind of player. We've never seen it before. So, it could have been a freak accident. He said he was like, he got hit in the head and he turned around. He didn't know what was going on. I don't know. But you got to face repercussions when it comes to that league anyway. So I guess, the league will do a good job of investigating it. But, I'm praying, that tailbone injury. I know we all hooped. Etan, I know you probably fell on your tailbone. I know the brand you played, bro. I hated playing against you, man. Coming off springs and all that, man. I was good Lord have mercy. But telling you. So we go, it is what it is, part of the game, but I wouldn't put that on LaMelo's resume or put that jacket on him or put it on his jacket with that. I think he understands the severity of the situation, and I think that the league's gonna make the best decision possible for the playoffs. So we'll see.
yeah,
Pray
definitely.
Bam gets better though, for sure.
Absolutely, and definitely a speedy recovery. Look, you know what? We all make mistakes and stuff, and definitely, it's a time of reflection, and hopefully, he learns from this, and obviously he's gonna lose some money definitely behind this, but hopefully, this will not be the big story moving forward for the Charlotte Hornets and their upcoming game on Friday. I want to ask you guys this, and Etan, you've been very outspoken, brother, and I tell you this, following you on X and seeing the things that you are saying, and really outspoken, and it's refreshing because, it's the world we live in. And college basketball, and I want to touch on this because I look at this thing where, and both of you guys would probably understand this in terms of just the way that college basketball has gotten to. And a lot of people are up in arms now where the president has gotten involved and White House and administration has gotten involved in terms of the NCAA looking to make some changes in terms of the amount of times kids can transfer, the NIL. People say the money is out of control. And then there's a fashion of people to say, hey, you know what? This is great for these young people to be able to make some money. Where do you stand on this thing in terms of just the age and all this stuff? And I want to just say this first and foremost. If we had a better system that would not take away from the high school kids, I'm all for it, right? If because again, certain circumstances, whatever, this is professional basketball. Where do you stand at, Etan? And you have a son who's playing big time basketball in college and stuff like that. So you have the opportunity to see it from two different perspectives as a former player, college basketball player, as well as a parent. Where do you stand on this whole landscape of just how the NCAA is handling this? And then what changes would you like to see happen?
So after Michigan won the championship, I had a chance to interview some of the Fab Five too, if you remember them. So you remember Maceo Baston,
Oh,
yeah, and Maurice Taylor and Gerard Ward. And so we talked about this a lot. The Fab Five were really the people when I read the book, The Fab Five, when I was in high school. And that's what really opened my eyes to the economic exploitation of the NCAA. So if you remember, Chris Webber was talking about seeing his jersey and all these people, wearing his jerseys and wearing everything, but he didn't have no money in his pocket to take a girl out to eat. And so when I got to Syracuse, I remember a freshman year. Now this was right after John Wallace and them had that run to the championship. So me and my point guard, Jay Hart, we up in the office looking at stuff we ain't really supposed to be looking at, right? So I remember we saw how much Syracuse made the year before. And we was like, wow, this is how much they made. So just put everything together, the TV contracts, and everything all. And then I was a business major. So I'm taking economic classes. And I'm like, we're talking about, how the America goes into different underdeveloped countries and sets up shop there, and they build these big factories and they give the people pennies while they make millions, right? Well, that was the system that the NCAA had for a long time, for decades, and everybody was okay with it. Nobody had a problem with the university making millions and millions of dollars and then saying, well, you're getting free education, so you should just be happy with that. So now when I see players being able to actually benefit off of their name, image, and likeness, this is not taking away anything. They don't get a piece of the basketball-related income or the football-related income that comes from the university. This is something completely separate. And people have to always make that distinction. So now you have athletes being able to capitalize a little bit off of their name, image, and likeness, and people have a problem with it. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I'm glad that all these young cats are able to negotiate and get representation and set themselves up right now in college financially and being able to help their families and everything like that. I think that's great. As far as player movement, my issue is you don't have any restrictions on the coaches. So a coach could come in there, promise a kid that he's going to be part of the family, and he's going to make sure that he graduates and all that great stuff that they say in your mama's living room, and then leave the next year for a better opportunity. Now you're there stuck with somebody that didn't even recruit you, that has a whole different system. Of course you're going to look to transfer. So that when that aspect happens, I don't think anybody should have any issue with that whatsoever. The problem with the NCAA right now is that they didn't think that they were going to be made to do anything. So they put nothing in place. There's no structure. What they need to do is have an actual collective bargaining agreement, right? And so then they don't want to open that door because they don't want to talk about basketball-related income and a slice of the pie and percentages. And they don't want to talk about that at all. So they're going to fight that tooth and nail. But yes, you have to have structure with everything. And right now, it's almost as if the NCAA is trying to sabotage to make it go back to how it was before, to say, see, we y'all wanted this and now it's all terrible.
Yeah.
Structure now they've had a long time to put some kind of structure in place, right? Like the people are being paid. They have a whole group of people that are paid to do just this, right? And now they have no structure whatsoever. No anything, no type of, they don't even have it mandatory that each player should have representation, which should be a part of it.
Yes.
Like, I mean, if you're going to treat it like professionals, it has to be the entire way. But they're trying to hold on to as much as that old school that they possibly
holding on, ET.
That's what they're doing.
Oh my God, man.
Amo, again, obviously a part of the whole youth basketball scene in Charlotte, and NIL is really prevalent, and seeing how it has gone. What are your thoughts on I'll ask you the same question. Your thoughts?
ET said a mouthful right there, man. Like, I mean, we talked about it. Like, I remember seeing Chris Webber say that on the documentary, I believe, Fab Five. And I remember seeing number 23 Georgia Tech in the bookstore for $65, $70, you know. And we didn't really think about it like that because that was the structure. Jay Billett said something years ago, and he said to end up with it within the NCAA, the house is on fire right now. And they acting like ain't nothing going on. And now you get the rigid older regime with the NCAA that could have did something with this earlier, but they stuck to no. We'll make money. Be happy you get a scholarship. You're not teaching them trades. You take a bunch of classes that's not gonna help you in real life. You know what I'm saying? But you over here making the millions of dollars because you know how to dribble a basketball, throw a football. You know what I'm saying? So they had a chance to deal with this then. That's why I'm so happy for all the kids right now that's getting paid that they have mobility now. You know what I'm saying? Now, with that being said, if they'd have came together with these fresh, new-minded people to say, hey, listen, you can't condemn him because he took $25,000 when he was 13 because he has 2 million followers on Instagram. He's getting that because that's who he is. She's getting that because that's who she is. That has nothing to do with the NCAA. You know how many kids would have been getting them kind of deals before? And been right into some other kind of business outside of their respectful sport that they playing at the next level outside of high school, and you gonna shut me down from doing that. You're making millions of dollars, and I gotta go get a regular job because I didn't make the NBA. I didn't make the NFL. But I can go be an influencer and work for a company that's a multi-billion-dollar company outside of the NCAA. You can't control people's lives like that. Now, well, on the other end, it has to be some kind of structure because it is kind of like the Wild Wild West. I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I love y'all. That's why I'm doing it. AG Sports and Entertainment. That's what we do. We breaker deals. We're not agents. So we take the kids to the deal respectfully with the companies that we already have relationships with that makes sense and align with the athlete. You see what I'm saying? In any sport. But it need more, we structured, it's holistic. So it's not like we're trying to bring kids to anything just to get money and get a percentage. We're not even thinking like that. It's all purpose over income with this. You know what I'm saying? It starts with the purpose. And that's what people need to go towards when it comes to this NIL whole climate right now. Because people getting confused. Parents, the players, the handlers, and then the agencies is like, well, we dealing with this over here. So like we don't have to go through the NCAA. But like I said, the NCAA could have did something about this years ago and they didn't. And now they have to go against this. Now they're trying to play chess with this NIL situation when they should be working together, in my opinion. It's no more G League, none of that for real. You know, we'll see how that plays out.
I think, you know what? In some way, it's kind of chaotic. Yes, I will agree. However, I don't think it's that bad because think about it this way. Yes, it's unfortunate that, kids are moving around and there's a lot of money that's being thrown around. One issue I would say that I would have, and I'm a little concerned about, is when you start putting in place agencies, and it's almost like a situation where you see in the NBA where agencies will have ties to a specific team. Look at the New York Knicks. A lot of their guys, I think, are CAA clients. So now, you know what? You have to work within those boundaries. I just worry about the fact is, will we get to a point where, agencies will have top guys and in the transfer portal, and now just try to shuttle all their guys to a specific school that obviously they'll figure out ways to be able to get the money. The next thing is the fact is that, you know what? These schools are talking about crying broke, like Florida State. Oh, we're broke, heard the thing about, some of these other schools that couldn't afford. You make all this money. You make tons of money, tons and tons of money, and people are giving the money. The thing that I am concerned about also with that is the fact is that, you know what? There was a story a few weeks back about IMG. I think it was, if it wasn't IMG, but forgive me, but an institution that reportedly had taken some donations from the cartel. So I was like, oh, this is what we're going to possibly get to, where somebody's going to say, hey, let me go get some money and be able to give that to a school. I'm just going to keep it real. Shout out to Cornbread Maxwell. When you're dealing with people that look like us, now all of a sudden it's chaotic, it's hectic. Like people were saying, oh, these guys are 24, 25, 26. You know, the pros shouldn't be able to come back and go into college. Well, what about the European players that for decades have been playing overseas in professional leagues and now we're able to come back to college? Like, you know, St. John's just signed a young man, and kudos to him. He plays overseas and he's reportedly going to go to school, play a year, and then once the season's over, he's going to go back to his club overseas. So it's always this different narratives where it comes to people that look like us. You know, my thing is, and I'll ask you guys, and I'll start with you, Mo. You know, the thing that's lost in all of this, and I'm grateful and I'm happy for the kids getting their money, right? Grateful for that. We all got young men and, you know, our sons and stuff potentially playing basketball, whatever. But the biggest thing is I worry and I'm disappointed. The development has gone astray. There's no time. Look, Penny Hardaway is a great friend of mine. Love Penny, family. There's so much pressure, right, to win, and the expectation is such a false sense of reality that you're going to be able to compete in the NCAA tournament. Also, Cinderella now are coming from Power 4, Power 5 conferences. I don't think there's going to be another George Mason and all these different schools, VCU making these improbable runs in the NCAA tournament because the money is dictating that these other power conferences will get that. So when you look at the situation, you know, Etan, I'll start with you. Would you say that the development of a player that potentially could make it to the NBA or whatever, and skill development is the one area that perhaps might be hindered, has been hurt, I'd say, from the transfer portal and all this other stuff?
I gotta say, I don't think so. I mean, you know, when you have skilled players and they're working out and they're developing, I mean, you're going to see improvement in their skills. I mean, I don't think that's wherever they go or if something happens that causes them to have to leave a certain situation for a better situation. I mean, that's what the coaches do. I mean, there's such a double standard all the time, and just the discussion about it. I mean, when people say, it's the Wild Wild West and all these things, they never described it like that for all those years with the coaches. It was always the Wild Wild West with the coaches. They was going for the highest bidder. They was leaving and making deals, and the season wasn't even over yet. You know,
right?
In football, especially in football. So I mean, and as far as the older players, for me, watching the tournament and watching Illinois play and having all of those professional players that play professional ball overseas, I don't think that's right. Like, if you play professional ball overseas, you should not be playing college here. I don't think that you should. But the same way, I don't think that you should be 25, coming in as a freshman here either. And I don't think you should be going from the G League or you've gotten drafted and then you can come back and enroll in college. Like, that's why I said it's like they're almost trying to create chaos in order to get, because it's like, what are y'all doing in the NCAA? Like, what are you getting paid to do? Like, these are the brackets and what they're supposed to be putting intact in the rules and regulations. It doesn't take much to be able to do this. You know what I mean? Like, but they're right now doing nothing, and that's problematic. But as far as the young players earning money, I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. I am happy that these young cats can earn money, and when I just wish that when they plaster what each player is making, I wish they would plaster what the school makes. You know what I mean?
Please do that. Please do that. Lord have mercy, you talking right now.
They signed for just to make it even. You know what I mean? So
yeah, let's even the playing field. Can we see what they get versus what these NIL deals are like? It's almost like a drop in the bucket of water, low key, bro. Not to cut you off, I'm listening, man. You talking, bro?
No, it definitely is. Now I remember, and I was part of the union, and I remember we were having a lockout year. This is 2010, 2011.
Yeah, I was around. That hurt.
So all of the different teams, everybody came up. Now these are billionaires. Not millionaires, billionaires.
Multiple companies, not just owning the NBA team.
Oh, but
People don't know that.
Their team is just one of the many things that they have. So they
Facts.
come there, they would start talking about they so poor, they struggling, it's so hard for them. You know, it's hard out here for. I'm like, are y'all serious? Y'all think it's stupid? They're like, no, it is not hard out here for y'all. But they do such a good job of projecting that image to the public, and then the public sees what players are making. And then they're like, oh, well, we're us regular day people. We can't. I was like, so you're going to tell me that you can't relate to the players, but you're okay with billionaires and what they're making and what they do?
Because they don't see it.
And the different loopholes that they get to not have to, that they have the company yachts and the company planes and it's all on the, like you, but people don't know all of that part. So I really think we should, you know, maybe some other people are going to have to broadcast what colleges make and what coaches make when they're talking about having a gripe about what different players are making off of NIL.
Yeah.
What messed me up, I went to Georgia Tech. Listen, I saw a coach get paid and was getting paid from another school while he was still getting paid at the school. And I was like, how does that? I didn't know that was, I couldn't understand that. Yeah. And I was like, damn, maybe I need to coach. You know, I'm like, this might be the move. But you 100% correct, ET. Like, they're not going to open that up and tell you what they're making. They're not going to show you the BRI, basketball related income. But now that's what college is with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So you see in college getting GMs and stuff. It's turning more into pro than ever.
Yeah.
Because the NCAA didn't handle their business like they were supposed to in the first place.
That's
so
right.
Like you said, I love that these kids, you know, they got mobility, they got leverage, they can make their own deals based on who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the backlash is basically at the end of the day, the NCAA and the league, they at odds right now. They're trying to play chess against each other. Like, we're trying to show you that the NCAA, the way we did it was better. Yeah. And these guys coming in with these NIL deals, they like, look, this is the way right here. I don't need my client to play basketball 16 years.
Right.
My client can go get a deal with Ford or Chevrolet or anything and be good and set for the rest of his life for him and his family.
That's right.
You can't do that over there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to find ways to compete with that. But that's what the market is right now, just like anything else, any other kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
It changed right up under your feet unless you get prepared to move through. And they should have worked together with that. But now it's NILs have took off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, well, you know, Etan, your son is playing in Dayton, and I believe still has some eligibility and stuff. Is there a conversation? I mean, that, you know, and obviously you don't want to put him in a difficult situation, but if there was an opportunity, is there something where you have to pay attention to the transfer portal because of the money that's being offered out there? Or is it just something that obviously is a part of our college basketball world? Is it something that, as a parent, having to be able to have those conversations of saying, you know, you might not be able to stay at a place for 4 years?
Of course. But I think that what a lot of people have to understand is a lot of times on teams, when you see a lot of players leaving, it's not always that they want to leave.
Facts.
A lot of the coaches tell them to leave.
Yes.
They tell them, we're going to recruit over you. You're not going to play here next year. You would be better off going into the portal. And that's another thing that I would wish that they get projected more, because a lot of times they just say, oh, these players have no loyalty. They don't know how to stick it out with everything. I was like, well, you don't understand what happens behind the closed doors. You don't understand what happens in the exit meeting after the season. So a lot of coaches, and this is not just like a few or like it's an anomaly, all of coaches inform the players, you're probably going to be better off going into the portal. And that needs to be known. And now the way that it is, you know, you have to prove yourself every year, because they're looking to try to, you know, improve the team. And the person who really gets the short end of the stick, like you mentioned earlier, are the high school players. Yeah. And that's tough, because like before, where you would see a high school player who's like a top, you know, 25 player, top 30 player, 40, 50 player, and they would have all kind of options of where they want to go. Coaches knocking down their door, coming up here. Now it's a little different. You got to be like top 12, top 20. You know what I mean? And then so that part is unfortunate, because you see a lot of really good high school players not get the opportunities where they would have gotten years ago. But I will say that with the movement, a lot of times guys will just have to take other routes. You know what I mean? They might not just get to go straight from high school to a Power 5 school. They might have to go, here first and then, you know what I mean, transfer up or something like that. Now, a lot of people don't like that that's for a school to be a stepping stone. But again, that's what it is for the coaches many times. They go to a school as a stepping stone before they could go to get another job. So now it's just an issue since it's the players doing what coaches have been doing for decades. And that's my issue.
Yeah.
I saw John Calipari say, look, I'm telling you better get it done this year because somebody else is on the way. A top 5 recruit. John Calipari said it on television. Rick Pitino said, I'm not even recruiting high school kids.
He did.
So if it's any time right now, these 2 Hall of Fame college coaches saying this now. You got guys, even football, Nick Saban, I'm done. Roy Williams, I'm done. Basketball. So it's like, listen, if you're not working on your game and your craft right now, as we speak, literally, then you better be concerned about what's coming up, moving into collegiate sports. Because they already know who they're looking at now. They already was recruiting. What you say, ET? Oh, we don't have enough money. When it was an ACC program say we ain't have no money. Florida State. What was that at 15, 20 years ago? It ain't no way, bro. Yeah. Y'all trying to manipulate through this situation because you can't control what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how to fix it, but I know it got to be more. It has to be more structure implemented, I guess, within the school because of the NCAA and the NIL movement is not going to see eye to eye. I don't see how the kids just don't go with the NIL. We got young kids out here ranked in the nation, came through my program, came through a couple of the guys' programs down here in North Carolina and South Carolina. And I'm like, we got to move with what's moving.
Right.
If you try to stay back and bring back the old NCAA and all that, that's not going to happen right now. It was 2026 and moving forward. So there got to be some kind of solution eventually.
Yeah. I will say that I think that every college player needs some type of representation. I know what you talked about before about the fear of the agents being able to influence, but the people are influencing right now already. You know what I mean? From AAU to the level of the sneaker team, whatever it is, whether it's Nike, Adidas, influencing to different schools, that's happening right now. But for each player, you have to have a different set of eyes, a legal eyes, to look at your contract and examine it and do what is best for you. Don't let them say, no, you can let your grandma look at it. And they'll try to butter it here and say, oh, no, you could probably do it just fine. No, you can't. Unless you're a lawyer, you do not know how to really examine the different loopholes because they'll try to slide stuff in. For instance, easy example, that if you enter the transfer portal, your NIL payment stops. All you have to do is just negotiate it that it goes through and you stretch it out longer so that even if you enter into the transfer portal, that you still get paid for the duration of whatever it is that you're supposed to get paid. Or that if you do enter the transfer portal, you can still use the facilities while you finish your school that semester.
Right.
Because a lot of places will slide that in there like, no, they'll cut off your key. You can't use anything. There's different things that you have to implement, the fine print that you're not going to catch. You have to have some type of legal eyes, look over your contract and really do the negotiating for you, I would say. But if not that, at least look over your contract before you sign it.
And that don't have to be every player. You're right, E. Like for real, because if you are going, you one of those guys, top 5, top 10 coming out of high school, you're going to be one. Anthony Edwards, for example, something like that. You got to be one of AJ DeBance, Darren Peterson, or something like that. I'm getting an agent. If that's my son, I'm going to have an agent and a lawyer and a financial advisor. Everything that I had when I was playing, I'm having that for him early because that's basically where it is. You got to have representation, like you said. You got to have some kind of money management. You got to have some kind of. You have to have somebody that's already been in the game with a structured blueprint, and they've already done it. Because you can't. Who you don't depend on? The coach. You can't depend on grandma, like you said. She ain't never seen that kind of money. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to completely depend on whatever your college coach is telling you. You got to have personal representation in all of those facets. So when you walk into those rooms, you already are protected on your side. And that's what the NCAA might be scared of, because we didn't have to ever worry about that.
Right.
He's like, we're going to school for free, we eat for free,
Yeah.
we good. And now it's like, oh no, I want to do that and make $3 million because of just who I am.
They have to start preparing really in high school.
Structure, yeah. You got to get started early now.
Yeah.
9th, 10th grade.
Yeah, I agree.
No, that's what it is.
It is something, and Etan, you definitely appreciate your time. Now, got a couple more questions. I want to let you get on out of here. Instead, one of the things I spoke to a former college coach and had, when he was a high school coach, and shout out to Gary DeCesar. I'm gonna give Gary DeCesar some love. The St. Raymond's and obviously the ABCD camp with Adidas years ago. And Gary had a great idea that, it really, really, resonated with me. And I'll ask you guys your opinion. There's been talk about it's a matter of, if not, it's not a matter of if, but just a matter of when, that these Power 3, Power 4 conferences are going to look to break away from the NCAA, because at the end of the day, they're saying, look, we're the cash cow. We don't need you. We don't need you. We've negotiated our TV deals. All you have is the NCAA tournament. We don't need you and fall under your sort of so-called structure. And if that happens, we will look at a space where perhaps, once again, I think of the smaller schools. And he had this idea, and I thought that it really resonated with me, like I said. And I asked you guys your thoughts on it. Do you think we'll get to a point where perhaps, let's say you have the smaller conferences, the Northeast Conference, the lower Division I conferences or whatever, that if you have a kid that comes to your school, your conference, and he's one of these schools, and you sign that high school kid, let's say you sign him to $100,000 or so. Well, that kid is developed and he's there, let's say maybe 1-2 years at max. And he goes on to one of those big, Power 5 conferences and stuff, and he signs a deal there that say gets him about $1 million or so. Do you think it's upon the conferences in which that young person goes to, let's say if it's the SEC, goes to that conference, they're entitled to give that $100,000 back to that specific school? So now the school can once again go out and get those high schools and treat it like it's a farm system for, a professional league. I'll start with you, Etan. Do you think that perhaps if we get to that point, would that be something that really now incorporates everybody as opposed to separate?
I would be okay with that if it's on top of what his actual salary is, but not that it takes away from what the players negotiated NIL is with the larger school.
Well, so, no. His money is already taken care of. You signed we signed Etan Thomas at Syracuse University for $5 million. He get his $5 million. It's upon the school and specifically the money that they get from the conference. Give that back to those schools. That, at a Quinnipiac or Manhattan College, they get that $100,000 back, and now you replenish it.
I'd be fine with that. I think that's absolutely a good idea.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Now, how do you give it back? It comes back from the player?
No, it comes back from the conference and the school.
Oh, from the conference and the school.
That money when again, that TV money and stuff like that, that's all them. So again, this way you keep the smaller schools relevant to entice a high school kid to come in and say, hey, look, we'll develop you. We know you're going to move on,
That would be really dope and beneficial to HBCUs, because I'm around a lot of the youth, and a lot of them wouldn't mind going to, we in North Carolina, John C. Smith or Winston-Salem State or North Carolina A&T. They would like that. But, these guys that come up out of here, man, they thinking blue chip. You know how it is, E. Y'all know how it is. And with that system, if they can figure that out, I think that would really spread the wealth around because it's not really going to affect like how we look at college basketball and college football. I don't know if football would agree with that. Well, I don't know if it'll go if it's just basketball, because it's that collective with the sports. Football is going to be different than tennis or something.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the major sports, if they could figure that out, that'd be super, super cool. Like if you can get the number one running back in the nation to go to Morgan State, Howard or something like that, that'd be cool because they have the money to be able to entice them to come and take care of them versus going to Alabama or Georgia, I mean, no disrespect to none of that, but it's like, man, I would love to see more guys like, you know, kid from Charlotte, Isaiah Evans, entering the draft, went to Duke from Charlotte. And, you know, if he said, yo, they said, yo, John C. Smith got $7 million for you to come over there, or $5 million, he'd probably stay home.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's, you never know. That's just an example. I don't think he would, you know, but in general, it'd be super cool to see all the wealth and the money get spread around throughout the D2s and the HBCUs, D3s. And it'll help those high school kids that kind of gonna get lost in the sauce with all this right now because it's such a gap between the NCAA and, you know, the NIL movement. So
Yeah,
that's cool, man. We might need to, hey, what y'all want to do? Let's get on the call, man.
I'd be up with that. That's
Come to lunch. Where y'all at? I'll pull up on y'all. Y'all come to Charlotte.
yeah, man. Hey,
Sit down and
listen,
talk
I tell
about
you this. But Etan, you know what? Obviously, you know, I was talking to BJ Armstrong a couple of days ago, and we were talking about. I tell him, you know, hey, you know, BJ, you know, I know B real well, and he said, "Oh man," he said, "that brother is solid, man, solid brother. You gonna learn something." That's what he told me. He said, "Jerry, you gonna learn something." I said, "No, man. Leah Wilcox told me years ago, and that was the thing, you know, just doing all the stuff on Sirius XM and just whatever, you know. But outside of being in volleyball, and I'm gonna get to that momentarily with you two guys and stuff. What is Etan Thomas involved in these days, and obviously, what really piques your interest outside of taking care of family?"
Well, you know, I keep my self busy. I write for 2 publications. I'm working on finishing up my next book. Actually, have my deadline coming up May 1st. So I'm looking forward to that. I have my podcast, The Rematch, that I do. I have my podcast that I do with at Syracuse with my man Eric Devendorf called the Etan and Devo Show. And then I got my political podcast that I do with Dave Zirin and Chuck Modiano called The Collision, where sports and politics collide. So I keep myself busy. You know, I write for The Guardian. You know, so I, you know, do and dabble with a lot of stuff in between, taking the girls to volleyball tournaments and everything like that, which takes up most of the time. That takes up most of the time. So yeah, I'm blessed though. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be able to be in a position where I can speak so freely about so many different topics. And a lot of the things that I get, you know, I get people that come up to me, you know, and they say, you know, thank you for being able to write or speak about things that we all talk about, but we're not really in the position to talk about it with our jobs and everything like that. And it's a blessing to be able to be in that position because right now, anybody just looking out in the world, there's a lot going on and a lot to talk about. So,
facts.
Yeah, you have that. And in closing, I got to ask you, because Amo is also involved with his daughter in the volleyball space. So what is it with former NBA players and their daughters, or better yet, being involved with volleyball and perhaps not even basketball and stuff? What is it, Etan? Again, there's so many former NBA players, and Amo was telling me the other day, you know, with it being on that volleyball circuit, that sounds a lot different than the circuits that you guys were a part of. What is about it, Etan, that the volleyball?
I don't know. It just, you know, and my wife played ball at Syracuse. So she played basketball. So our daughters never played basketball. My son plays basketball, but our daughters always played volleyball. So we was just in Kansas City, you know, the Show Me tournament, and I ran into Nick Collison with his niece. Ran into Sheldon Williams with his daughter, but it's always like every tournament I'm running into guys, and then in nationals, run into all kind of guys. You know what I mean? Last year was Antonio Daniels, my old teammate, and Tyson Chandler, and you know I used to see Jermaine O'Neal and Steph Curry, and you know Patrick Ewing with his daughter, and we all just regular dads out there with the bag, our daughter's bags carrying and. You know what I mean? Trying to get them to eat and eat those little acai bowls that they have at all the tournaments and all. Just regular dads doing dad stuff.
Hey, ET, are they doing TikToks in between the games?
All the TikToks, yeah. Sometimes jumping them and messing with the girls and doing all this stuff with them.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. So all the regular dad stuff. And it's always great running into different former players or players that you know came across or from different generations at these tournaments. And it really happens every tournament for me.
Yeah, I found it really fascinating, and you also you're the strength and conditioning coach for your daughter's volleyball team.
You did your homework.
That's cool.
So that wasn't supposed to happen. That I was out there working out with my daughter before the practice one time, and just put it through for a little bit of stuff, and then I go to the side. I don't know nothing about no volleyball, but I can do some stretching with her and doing some drills and footwork stuff, right? So then another mother said, "Hey, can my daughter jump in with y'all? That looked pretty good." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." And then it builds up, so 2 more come, and then it turns out, oh, well, coach says, "Hey, well, your daughter said that she wanted you to do that regularly." I was like, "So she just volunteered me?" I was like, "Is that what happened?" So, yeah, but it's a blessing. No, I would love to do it. Like,
hey, man,
look at you, man.
Situation.
It's definitely, again, I know patience, but again, that's the biggest thing is it's out of the area where I do imagine that both of y'all are not yelling at the officials and referees at the volleyball games and stuff. And perhaps maybe a softer, gentler side where you bring the orange slices and all those different things.
Slices.
Hey, man, it's crap going back to back. My daughter was just in Atlanta. She plays travel volleyball, and I run into we in the southeast, so I'm running into Marcus Spears, Swagoo out there.
Yep.
Donnell Harvey went to Florida back in the day. A lot of guys from Atlanta with their kids that were former hoopers, man. And it's like it kind of finds solace, man. We all stick together because you get the volleyball. You know, the volleyball tournaments, it's all day.
Yeah, all day long.
It's exciting, man. My daughter had to teach me. She's 17. She's in Atlanta. She plays for Tsunami. She played for A5 last year.
Okay.
I had to get it. I had to hey, you got to teach me so I know what I'm looking at, so I can mentally compete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a blessing, man. But yeah, I don't know. I had this conversation earlier, like your daughter play volleyball. I'm like, it's like 30 guys I know that play in the league. They don't even want to hoop. The girls just go straight to volleyball. I'm like, I didn't even know, but that's man. That's what's up.
Well, I'm sure you guys learned that bumping and passing, all that stuff.
I had to find out what a libero is.
Yeah, all that.
In the middle that with the other shirt on the team. And I had to find out positions and what do you do over here? I'm like, look, there's no dumb questions, babe. I take her home after her tournaments. I'm like, look, what this mean?
What this mean, right?
Yeah, so now I get it. So I'm going down. She actually has prom this weekend, so I'm going out to Atlanta in a couple of days.
That's cool.
It's a skill that definitely you cannot take for granted because it definitely requires a lot of movement, agility, and you have to be in shape. And definitely I find it interesting. Listen, Etan, good brother, I really, really appreciate the time. Amo still hang out and stuff like that. Definitely all the best. And look, man, continued success to you, your family. Happy belated birthday also,
Happy birthday, brother.
Happy belated birthday and stuff. Definitely fellow Aries also. Mine's is tomorrow and stuff like that. So.
Happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday. He didn't even tell you. Trying to surprise us today, man.
No. Because you know what? I was born on my mother's birthday, so it's actually her birthday. So all I do is piggyback off of her birthday.
That's dope.
It's also cool, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's birthday also. And shout out to another guy on that Southeast, Walt Williams, DC. It's Walt Williams' birthday, good friend also and stuff. But you know what, Etan, man, definitely appreciate the time. Like I said, continued success, man. Keep doing what you're doing because you are a voice for those that don't have the platform and stuff, and really just being able to speak out. And I truly appreciate what you have done and will continue to do. And Rick definitely said, make sure we stay in contact so we can get you back on somewhere down the line and really spend some time.
That'd be great. Thanks again for having me on.
Always. My bad. I'm gonna say one Etan. We both Oklahoma City Thunder former guys. I don't know. I'll be down there. I put this program together when I was working with them, Thunder Legacy. I don't know. Did you go? Have you ever been? Yeah, I put that together, man.
I done said a couple.
I'm taking the job with Charlotte. Yeah. Shout out to Ayana. Shout out to everybody. I'll be out there, man. I'm gonna see you out there, bro. I ended up leaving going to Charlotte then, but yeah, that was my little project. My first time I could see what I could do in the front office setting, bro. So I'll be there, man, for sure. I see you. That's like in a month or a couple weeks or something.
Something like that. All right, cool. That's what's up.
For sure. Hey, I'm gonna get your information from G, man.
All right, cool. Do that.
Appreciate it, Etan. Etan Thomas joining us here. So, Amar, before we close out the show, man, first and foremost, I got to say, you know what, man? It's always a pleasure. And I'm not just saying this right now because of the fact that, we here. But you know what? I've always been a big fan of you as the individual and who you were when you were in the NBA and really had all that attention come on you. You really always stayed the same. And I applaud you, good brother, because you've done so much and continue to do so much within your community. And it really speaks volumes to the fact is who you are as a black man and what you have done and continue to do. And I really, like I said before, man, the skill, the knowledge, and all the things that you have, it's definitely been a blessing, man. And I appreciate you hanging out this evening and stuff. And, definitely getting to be out the house and stuff like that. You should have tried to catch the bee and squeeze the bee and get some honey out the bee and stuff.
I ain't had time for that, man. It was too aggressive. Kids was going crazy. I had to get it done early. had to get it done. That's why I'm about 10 minutes late, man. It was kind of crazy.
It's all right. We got to do this again because I want to pick your brain on a couple of days. And, obviously running out of time. I want to pick your brain. Maybe next week you come on and we definitely talk about some more of these playoffs and breaking down some of these things. But before we get on out of here, I want to get your thoughts on which players you will be keying in on for these playing games to hopefully either get their team as close as possible, if not to the actual playoffs, but get their teams as close as possible.
So we got Orlando and Philly tonight. Well, we were talking last night. Of course, LaMelo's play, and we'll see what happens with the decision the league makes. Brandon Miller, dark horse. I don't think he's getting enough attention. And key piece in the glue guy for the Hornets. I don't want to say his name wrong. Musa
Diabate, yes.
Diabate, yeah, super imperative for them to win, man. I know he's out now. Khalil L had a great coming out party. I feel like 19 rebounds last night. We'll see Brandon Miller boost his play. I'm gonna really keep an eye on. I know Embiid's out tonight, so I'm gonna see. I think VJ is gonna be really big for them coming off the bench or being able to score. VJ Edgecombe, and Paolo Banchero. Look, this is what y'all want. Let me see. You the superstar. You the all-star. This would be a good way to separate himself and put him in like real superstar mode. That's just coming out the East for the night. The Suns, they took a L. But we'll see. West Coast wise, who's over there playing tonight?
Well, the Warriors and the Clippers.
Warriors and the Clippers. Yeah, I'm looking at we're gonna see what Kawhi got going. What Steph's gonna bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be based off. I can't wait to watch that game.
Yeah.
Because it's like I said, it's like March Madness feeling going into the real playoffs, coming right off the real March Madness.
Yeah, the thing is, and I want to get you before we get on out of here, is those players that you're looking to really evaluate in the play-in tournament. And obviously you touched on some of the key guys. One guy you didn't touch on, and I want to get your thoughts on, Con Knipple. I mean, this is a young man that I think clearly, hands down, if he's not the co-rookie of the year, he definitely needs to be part of that award. But he struggled, and you kind of expect that. That's the, again, playing tournament, first opportunity to get in there, and, seeing that and what he was able to do for a season was very, very impressive. Are you concerned about his sort of performance, and how important will he be for the next game, taking on the loser of the Sixers and Magic game?
I'm no way 0% concerned about him.
Mm-hmm.
No concern. Every shot he missed, it looked like it was going in.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I didn't like is when they was putting the camera on him during like going into overtime, because it got an offense, defense, or whatever. He's not a terrible defender. He got more defensive EQ. He's where he need to be at the time. He's not going to be a lockdown defender ever, but his shot ethic, which I compare to like when you say work ethic, like staying at it, his shot ethic is like that. It's like Kyle Korver, Klay Thompson in his prime, those guys. And he can really play with the score. I'm not concerned about him. He'll never go 0 for 6, 0 for 7 from 3, again, because he gets clean looks because he knows how to get open, and LaMelo always looking for him. All his teammates looking for him. So I'm not even worried about it. Like, it's not like they gonna play him 12 minutes next game. Like, he's still gonna play his normal minutes. He gonna get his regular shots. And it don't take much for a guy like him, man. He gonna hit 2 or 3, and then it's gonna be the floodgates open, man. So they won without him being on his game as the MVP, in my opinion. No disrespect to anybody else. Cooper Flag, I understand. I put the wins in there. They in the
Yeah,
play.
rookie of the year.
I
Yeah.
gotta put the winning in there, and he's a real impactful player. He's one of the
Yeah.
most valuable guys on the team. So I
Yeah.
would give it to Khan. But I'm not worried about him. Shoot or
Yeah.
shoot. The way he plays and the way his IQ is on the floor and the way he understands how to get open and get open shots and open up lanes for guys to slash, Sion, Melo, B. Miller, Miles Bridges, the way he can open everything up for them, he changes the whole game offensively. So I
Is
think
it?
I think we're looking forward to a big game out of him.
Yeah. Is this the last hurrah for the Warriors, as we know? If they really fall to the Clippers.
I think that whole, that's been over with. Like that dynasty, like
Well,
that's over
Draymond,
with.
it's just really Draymond and Steph there, and I don't think that Steph
Yeah.
will be going anywhere. But obviously, Draymond would be a guy. But do you think that if they happen to lose this game to go in there, and granted, you don't have Jimmy Butler among other guys, do you think that obviously this is perhaps the time for them to just go ahead and move on from a guy like Draymond and perhaps others?
I don't know if Draymond gonna be there next year. I know Jimmy got some time on his contract. Steph can do whatever he wants to do, of course. But they got a lot of smart people in their front office, bro. So like, if they find a way to make some kind of trade, blockbuster trade with a third team, with 2 or 3 teams involved to get another superstar for the future in there, I could see them doing that with that front office that they have. It's not going to be it's not going to look like what the Warriors look like in 2015, 16, 17. Like, it's not going to be that. They got to
Right.
take on a whole new identity based off who they can get to make a splash. If they don't get a big trade, a Giannis or something like that, or somebody of that kind of like a superstar Hall of Fame type person, it's over with. In terms of making it out the West, 'cause all the teams in the West is getting better. Houston's going to be better next year. They're not going anywhere. San Antonio is right up there, low key, by OKC. OKC's still young, and it's going to be hard to get out of that West in general with the roster they have constructed. So, but they got the front office and the smart people up there to be able to pull something off. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Hey, Amon, again, thank you so much, brother. We got to do this next week. We got to do this.
I'm on deck.
Hey,
Honorary guest, man.
hey, huh?
Honorary guest.
Hey, no, you're honorary member. You're honorary.
I went up.
No.
Right.
You family. You've been family. Stop
All
it.
right, cool.
You've been
All right.
family. Hey, appreciate the time. That about wraps up the show. And look, do us a favor. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and stuff. We got so much that goes on with the channel and stuff, and how much that we have that takes place with it, and a lot of the things that we have always taken place with the channel. Do yourself, and if you haven't gone to the channel, the Bottom Line Sports Show on YouTube, youtube.com and stuff, / the Beeline Sports Show, do yourself a favor and check it out, because we got some videos up there from, when we had Amo, coming off of the run and putting up the numbers in the summer league, and then obviously doing what he did in the NBA and on the stuff. Got Penny Hardaway, all these different guys that have been a part of the journey. For Anthony Morrow, I'd like to thank Etan Thomas for joining us, but more importantly, we'd like to thank you. You can definitely make sure to follow us on the social media. Get our numbers up. Come on, follow me.
Turn up.
Sports. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you enjoy the play-in tournament, and we back next week to break it all down again. Not one night, 2 nights. Bottom Line Sports Show's out. Peace.
I'm on deck, brother.
Yes, indeed. He is.